Hey guys, this is John DeGroat, and this is my case study. First Community Church has been around since 1875. It is the oldest institution in Grandview, Iowa. They still have the original membership papers when the church was organized, and the last names of those original members still constitute the bulk of the church directory today. This church has a rich and proud history of mission, worship, and community. Almost 30 years ago, a $1.5 million gift was given to purchase an organ during the sanctuary renovation. This generous gift on the part of the donor was a message sent to the church about the value and importance of the organ in worship services at a time when contemporary worship was emerging. If you stepped into the sanctuary, you would have seen choir risers commanding the stage and the pipes of a giant organ setting neatly above. This, along with an outdated color scheme and floral decor, largely reflected the age, culture, and expectations within this congregation. Randy is the senior pastor and is in his mid 40s. He began just under 2 years ago. His wife, Judy, is the halftime worship director. The church boasts about 1,200 members and typically sees about 750 for worship. The church does have a healthy number of young families, but an overwhelming percentage of elderly and a few young adults, though it's located in a college town. The church has a verbal value of being multi-generational in worship, meaning everyone stays in the same hall for Sunday worship gatherings. However, the services are fairly traditional, and they contain multiple hymns with a few contemporary numbers led by middle-aged worship teams. The past 12 months have been a time of identity crisis as a $1.7 million renovation to the sanctuary began. This created a host of questions along the way. Both the development team and the renovation steering committee are exhausted and frustrated as they keep coming back to the administrative consistory or the admin team. They're looking for decisive answers to time-sensitive questions. These answers speak about the values and direction of the church. So Rob is the youngest member of the admin team. He has a limited leadership experience after having worked on a staff at a healthy and growing church for about a decade before moving to town. He now works in the private sector and volunteers. He is frustrated because he feels as though the church isn't considering the future and is exercising poor stewardship. Before the renovation began, he said, "We ought to develop a clear vision and mission, figure out our communal identity, and identify our future needs." Rob urged the leadership to put the brakes on the renovation until they had time to address these issues. Pastor Randy's response was that the train has left the station. Rob is concerned about spending this kind of money without having a stated sense of identity. The church has not shown any signs of numerical growth the past 20 years. He has addressed this with the group and suggested that the leadership begin to target young adults in their worship services and employ strategies for engaging the lost in their community. Pastor Randy is concerned with what that looks like since the boomers and traditionalists make up the majority of the budget. Judy is a people pleaser and tells Rob privately, "I'd love to be done with the organ," but reports to admin that a lot of people still really value the organ and hymns. Upon Rob's persistence, a day retreat was scheduled for the admin team to develop a vision statement. The team ended up adopting the vision that Randy brought along and presented. Randy came prepared to the meeting, and after talking to the team about the church's current state and the need for a catalyst, he said, Randy said, "I'd like us to think about becoming a multi-site ministry." And he received approval from the admin team. He proposed to add $150,000 to the operational budget for the setup and part-time staffing of a new site 25 miles away. This, quote, opportunity, unquote, is in a dying community where two churches have closed in the past 10 years. Pastor Randy believes this is the kind of challenge that the church can rally around. Rob is concerned that the DNA of the existing church is not healthy enough to, quote, birth, unquote, a new site, and that the added financial stress to a budget deficit in light of the renovations as well as finding capable and willing volunteers, will be problematic. So the building project becomes the catalyst that brings several issues to light. I want to look at it from two angles: the ethical implications and the social sciences. Under ethical implications, I'd like to look at power, fear, and motivation, in particular how it has to do with money. In the social sciences, I'd like to look at leadership through the lenses of relationship and vision. The ethical implications to money. Power. Do the rich decide the direction of worship? I think this is an issue of justice, asking the question what voices are not being heard. While reasons for the building project are not mentioned in the case study, the precedent of the donation for the organ suggests that a large sum of money can dictate the direction of the church. The case study says that this was a, quote, message sent, unquote, from the donor. There was no mention of the leadership's visionary direction or desires of voices among the congregation. It was, in fact, at a time of stylistic crossroads. Certain groups seem to be catered to, and others may be ignored. Second piece is fear. Is there a fear of upsetting chief sources of income? I think this is an ethical issue of fortitude. What would a courageous approach look like? Our current situation finds the church in another renovation process. Rob makes mention that he is concerned that the church might be exercising poor stewardship because of what he perceives to be a lack of intentional vision. Randy is afraid of upsetting those with the pocketbooks. Well, once again, the church is at a crossroads and has to make stylistic decisions. Finally, third, looking at it from the perspective of motivation. Should the church spend money in order to grow? I think this is a question of temperance and prudence. Is Randy's vision right for the time? Randy's vision to expand into a multi-site ministry will require more money, and spending more without addressing the deeper issues perhaps will only serve to exacerbate them. The new vision seems to have little to do with or solving the deeper current problems. Next, I would like to look at it through the social science view. Leadership. Looking at leadership through Mark McCloskey's 4R model of leadership, he describes the 4 R's as relationship, roles, responsibility, and results. Under the first R, relationships, he uses an acronym of DICE plus 1, in which he expresses what virtues create the character necessary to be a relational leader: dynamic determination, intellectual flexibility, courageous character, and emotional maturity. I would like to look at the relationships within this case study through that lens. Very briefly, Randy is making decisions out of fear. I think this is a question of dynamic determination. Is Judy communicating with integrity? I think that's an issue of courageous character. Is Rob myopic with his own agenda? I think this might be a question of intellectual flexibility. Finally, looking at leadership through the lens of vision, also through McCloskey's 4R model, the second R is roles, and one of the roles of a leader is vision casting. Our situation finds the vision vague and assumed. Who is in charge of casting the vision? Randy and his team haven't seemed to clarify a vision for the church, and this leaves many unanswered questions. It also seems to be vague and leaves a lot of assumptions. A lack of vision can create a vacuum of assumptions. The committees are stressed out and they're unsure of what to do. It seems they need leadership in way of direction and empowerment. I look forward to hearing your ideas and deeper analysis as I probe further into this case study. Thank you.